Hi everyone, it's Katrina. Number 10. Kerma. As one of Africa's earliest civilizations, the capital of the Kerma culture was founded at least 5,500 years ago in what is now Sudan. Today, it's one of the largest archaeological sites in the sub-Saharan region known as ancient Nubia, which was known for its gold deposits, incense, ivory, and architecture. By 1700 BC, Kerma was home to at least 10,000 residents. At its peak, it was the region's most powerful urban center, boasting a royal audience hall, a palace, a mud brick temple, funerary temples, chapels, and so much more. Pottery and other items that the Kermans left behind are culturally distinct from those found in Egypt and other neighboring kingdoms. Kerman artifacts have been found more than 200 miles from Kerma, reflecting the society's far-reaching ties with other groups. But the 30,000 graves in the city's cemetery show that the civilization was not entirely free of outside influence. The Kermans adhered to a social hierarchy that may have been influenced by how the ancient Egyptians structured their society. Large tombs were surrounded by smaller burials, and some of the Kermans' royal burials feature images of the god Horus and other Egyptian deities, as well as Egyptian pottery, amulets, and scarab seals. For a time, Egypt and Kerma traded both material goods and cultural ideas. However, at some point, their relationship worsened, and the Egyptians sacked the city around 1500 BC. Kerma was absorbed and went on to serve as the headquarters for several of the new kingdom's rulers. Number 9. Nineveh. The ancient Assyrian city of Nineveh was located on the outskirts of Mosul in what is now Iraq. It was established as early as 6000 BC during the late Neolithic period. Over the years, it became a major religious center devoted to the Mesopotamian goddess Ishtar. It was built along a fault line, and so the walled city experienced numerous earthquakes, including one that destroyed the temple to Ishtar. Nineveh, nevertheless, became a great cultural and educational hub, serving as the capital of the Assyrian Empire for the majority of its existence. It grew to include parks, aqueducts, canals, an 80-room palace, and a library that housed 30,000 tablets. People continuously inhabited Nineveh for thousands of years, and in the 50 years leading up to its demise, it was the world's largest city. In 612 BC, a coalition of allied forces got angry and sacked and razed the ancient urban center. The intruders massacred and deported residents in large numbers. Nineveh never recovered from the construction, but it continued to function as a city in the centuries following the devastating invasion. It fell under the control of various civilizations, including the Seleucid Empire, the Parthian Empire, the Sasanian Empire, and finally the Arabs. By the 13th century, the city was reduced to mostly ruins. Today, it consists of 2 large mounds and the remains of Nineveh's massive stone and mud brick wall that was built around 700 BC. Sadly, what little is left of the settlement is being destroyed by time, weather, looters, and terrorists. Number 8. Mehrgarh. Located west of modern-day Pakistan's Indus River Valley, an archaeological site known as Mehrgarh contains some of South Asia's earliest known evidence of farming and herding. The 300-acre Neolithic settlement sits at the foot of the Bolan Pass, which has long served as a connection between the Indus Basin and the Iranian highlands. Mehrgarh was settled as early as 7000 BC, thousands of years before the famed Indus Valley civilization appeared in the region. It went through 8 distinct periods of occupation, with the first inhabitants being a semi-nomadic pre-pottery culture who built mud brick homes, planted grains, and raised sheep, goats, and cattle. They memorialized their dead with elaborate burials, laying the deceased to rest with baskets, pendants, tools, and other valuable objects they had at the time, like seashells, limestone, turquoise, and sandstone. During the second phase of occupation at Mehrgarh, people began making ceramic pottery, and the potter's wheel was introduced, significantly increasing production. The oldest human figurines in South Asia were unearthed in large numbers at the settlement, and the arrival of copper technology helped to greatly expand the site between the 4th and 7th phases of occupation. There was a lot going on here. The Mehrgarh site was abandoned sometime between 2600 and 2000 BC, during its 7th period of occupation. Its residents re-established a new settlement 5 miles away in the larger and more fortified town of Naosharo. French archaeologists discovered Mergar in 1974 while searching for the root of the Indus Valley civilization. While little is known about the ancient people who lived here, it's clear based on the evidence that they were advanced for their time and worshipped a god of some sort. Research into these ancient cities also shows that the developments like agriculture and raising livestock do not have a single origin, but developed independently in various places. And now for number 7. But first, it's shout-out time! Big thank you to David Cat and Brenda Mosher for supporting this channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like these. Number 7. The Etruscans. What we know today as Italy's Tuscany region was once called Eretria. It was home to one of the most advanced societies that ever existed outside of Greece in the ancient world. The earliest known traces of the Etruscan civilization date back to around 900 BC, and the oldest examples of their writing originated around 700 BC. Sadly, their texts did not survive into modern times, and the closest scholars have gotten to a first-hand look at what their world was like has been through Greek and Roman sources. Even the top experts on Etruscan history only partially understand the language. There are complications that come with trying to learn about an ancient society based on what other cultures wrote about them, as you can imagine. At their peak, the Etruscans covered a large area of Italy. They learned how to mine metals, such as copper and iron, and this gave them an edge over other societies around them. They were wealthy, educated, artistic, and powerful. There is ongoing debate as to how much the Etruscans influenced Roman civilization. Rome's early kings may have been Etruscan. Ultimately, though, the Etruscan civilization fell because of increased threats from all around. They resisted the emerging power of the Roman Empire for as long as they could, but eventually surrendered. They were granted Roman citizenship around 90 BC, and in the following decades, their territory was incorporated into the Roman Empire. Number 6. The Khmer. The Khmer Empire occupied modern-day Cambodia between the 9th and 15th centuries. Its capital, Angkor, served as its powerful center. At its peak, the civilization ruled over a vast swath of Southeast Asia, including what is now Vietnam, Thailand, and Laos. The Khmer were among the first ancient civilizations to develop a road system with bridges. They also built canals, hospitals, and defensive works, like stone walls, which made them extremely good at preventing foreign invasions, at least for a while. The deeply religious Hindu-Buddhist society was extraordinarily wealthy and mostly self-sufficient. Satellite imagery shows that between the 11th and 13th century, Angkor was the pre-industrial world's largest urban center. The Khmer Empire started to decline noticeably during the 14th century, and in the 15th century, the civilization had dissolved. Historians don't really have just one answer. Numerous events likely contributed to its downfall, including internal power struggles, tense relations between elites and rulers, frequent civil wars, wars with outside powers, plague, and declining harvests. Number 5. Cucuteni-Trypillian. Around 5500 BC, the Neolithic Cucuteni-Trypillian culture became well known when its inhabitants spread across what is now Eastern Europe, including Russia, Moldova, and Ukraine. They built Neolithic Europe's largest settlements, with populations numbering anywhere from 20,000 to 46,000. Archaeologists have discovered that they did something strange. Every 60 to 80 years, the civilization burned down its structures and built a new spot at the same site. Their phases of occupation can often be seen at archaeological sites like Poduri in Romania, where there are 13 distinct layers containing the ruins of settlements that were burned down and then built on top of. Researchers haven't figured out why the Cucuteni-Trypillians did this, but it limited the amount of artifacts they left behind, to say the least. The civilization also left no signs of a written language. As a result, experts have very little to learn about them from. The few relics that were found intact include clay totems, copper tools, and spiritual objects. In the late 19th century, the first Cucuteni-Trypillian communities were found. Recent findings reveal that the obscure culture played a bigger role in human advancement than it's given credit for. But because of their habit of destroying the evidence, we'll probably never know the true extent of their knowledge or capabilities. Number 4. The Giraffe Culture. During the 3rd millennium BC, an early Bronze Age civilization called the Giraffe Culture emerged in what is now Iran's Halil River Valley. They built a sprawling urban settlement that was surrounded by mountains on 3 sides and consisted of 2 large burial mounds, a fortified citadel, and numerous smaller buildings. The Giraffe people enjoyed a sophisticated lifestyle and a complex social hierarchy that put them ahead of other societies of their time. They practiced a religion and crafted vases, statues, and other fine goods. The civilization peaked sometime between 2500 and 2200 BC, after which point they experienced some sort of decline and abandoned their city. Over time, the villages they left behind were either buried in the sand or forgotten. After being rediscovered during the early 20th century, the Giraffe sites were excavated several times. In the meantime, they fell victim to looters, leaving behind a very limited array of artifacts, so we know very little about them. What we do know is that they were a distinct group with their own unique language, spiritual beliefs, architecture, and a writing system consisting of geometric figures. Many researchers believe that the society may be one of the so-called cradles of civilization, representing one of the first places on Earth where a complex culture developed. Some even speculate that the Giraffe culture was just as great as the Sumerians or ancient Mesopotamia. Number 3. The Vinca Civilization. Also known as the Danube Valley Civilization, the Vinca civilization was a Neolithic culture that lived throughout parts of southeastern Europe, including what are now Serbia, Kosovo, Bulgaria, Romania, and Macedonia. Dating as far back as 7000 BC, the Vinca are widely considered to be the cradle of European civilization. They made numerous advancements that put them far ahead of other cultures at the time, including building some of the region's largest prehistoric settlements, fueling a population boom, and further developing farming after it was introduced in the area. In addition to planting crops and raising livestock, the Vinca plowed their fields and used copper silverware 1,000 years before doing so became common in Europe. They were not politically unified. However, they preserved cultural solidarity by exchanging ceremonial items over a huge network of villages. The Vinca used a collection of around 700 symbols, including zoomorphic and anthropomorphic figures. Some scholars consider it to be one of the world's oldest writing systems. Layers of evidence found at some Vinca spots indicate a period of occupation lasting over 1,000 years. Their reasons for eventually abandoning these sites remain a mystery. Number 2. The Aksumites. The Aksumite Empire is one of the least documented civilizations. Historians know little about it, and the reasons for its collapse are a mystery. From around 80 AD until it met its mysterious downfall in 825, they occupied Eritrea and Ethiopia, as well as parts of Djibouti, Somalia, and Somaliland. The Kingdom of Aksum gained its power as a major player along a commercial trade route linking the Roman Empire with ancient India. Using its far-reaching political power, it influenced societies as far away as the Arabian Peninsula, which was located across the Red Sea. Aksum was also the first sub-Saharan empire to mint its own coins and adopt Christianity. During the early 7th century, the Aksumites stopped making new currency. Around the same time, residents were forced to flee inland, where they sought refuge on higher ground from some sort of upheaval. The capital was abandoned and resettled at an unknown location. According to legend, a Jewish queen named Judith, or Judith, ordered the burning of Aksum's Christian churches around 960, but many historians question whether this story is true, or if Judith even existed to begin with. Another story claims that a pagan queen from a rival tribe named Bani al-Hamwiya was responsible for ending the Aksumites' power. Climate may have also been a factor. During the 1st century, it rained more than usual, increasing the region's food supply. But there was a huge population to support, and it's possible that the land could no longer handle the intense farming that was required to keep people fed. Number 1. Mycenaeans. The Mycenaeans were Greek-speaking immigrants who arrived in the Aegean region around 2000 BC and subsequently conquered the Minoans after living alongside them and trading with them for some time. The newcomers harvested food from the sea and grew grapes and olives in the dry, rocky soil. They frequently raided other societies like the Hittites and Egyptians. The Mycenaeans built heavily fortified settlements, and through their plundering they became wealthy, and the civilization flourished between 1600 BC and 1200 BC, before unexplainably collapsing at its peak, when people began leaving the region in droves. Some scholars concede that we may never know why the Mycenaeans disappeared. There are numerous theories, including the realistic possibility that the society's violence against others finally caught up with it. Natural disasters, possibly including an earthquake and/or a volcanic eruption, may have also ended the civilization. Drought, famine, civil uprising, and financial devastation are also possible factors. Thanks for watching! What's your favorite ancient civilization? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon! Bye!